private, but I also take notes of what's like a mistake that the majority of them had. So I review it as feedback in the next session.
Very good, Selena. So you take a record of the mistakes that they make.
Mm-hmm.
Very good, excellent. Okay, excellent. Thank you, Selena. Eugenio, what about you?
Yes, I was thinking about speaking when they are speaking. The thing that I do is, for example, if they say a sentence and they have uh, maybe a mistake in a word, I only say the sentence again, but correctly, without saying like directly in which part did the student got the error.
Very good. So here we have one technique that it says that we can correct our students by clarifying the sentence correctly, right? Instead of saying, you know what, you made a mistake in front of everyone. Very good.
Mhm.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Eugenio. Thank you for your participation. So we have another question for you. How do you correct your friends when they make a grammar mistake? You know that, for example, if we are talking right now, I might commit some mistakes, or if you are talking, maybe there is one mistake that enters to the conversation. So how do you correct your friends? Or you don't correct them? Okay, Jesus?
Yes, usually I let them finish and then maybe give them like feedback. I
Okay.
know like is weird, but sometimes like I they they help me when talking, or they help me through different kind of subjects where they are more knowledgeable and help me through that.
Very good. So Jesus, you don't see it like a correcting, but you see it as a feedback. Right?
Yes.
Very good, Jesus. Thank you. All right. Someone else that would like to participate in this one? For example, is it similar or is it different to correct a student than a friend? Do you think it's easier to correct a friend than a student? What do you think about this? Betty? Uh-huh.
I think it's easier to correct a student
Why, Betty? Why do you tell me that?
because, I mean, I'm going to sound mean, but for the student, you're pretty sure getting paid to almost correct them. And with your friends, they can get mad at you.
Okay, very good. Exactly. For example, some friends might think or might feel exposed of you correcting. Some of them maybe they will say or think like, why are you correcting me? I didn't give you permission to do so, right? And yes, as you mentioned, the students are used to about corrections because they are learning. Thank you so much, Betty, for your participation. Good job. Okay, so think about these two questions during this topic, okay? Because you know that correcting someone could be very vulnerable for them, right? If you make a mistake, how do you feel, right? How do you feel if someone corrects you, okay? So first of all, we know that some students make mistakes during the learning process, right? It's inevitable. You know that when students didn't know this topic that you're teaching before, of course, they will make mistakes all over again, right? Maybe one, maybe two, maybe it's constantly, but it's part of the learning process. So here, some teachers some teachers ignore the mistakes that students commit, but this could be something very it could be a consequence, right? Because students might be at risk of learning the development, right? For example, I don't know if you had a teacher that was always correcting you. during your English classes or during your primary school, right? In the other hand, we had this teacher that ignored the mistakes that you committed, right? Like not ignoring, but not making the importance there. Like, oh, no, I'm not gonna correct Betty, for example. Why? Because no, well, she's gonna learn anyways. I mean, if I correct her, maybe she's gonna feel bad, and then she's not gonna have the motivation to keep studying, right? So we have two different sides of these teachers, right? The ones that correct and the ones that, well, doesn't correct. Okay, so here we, whenever your students make a mistake, we need to ask this to ourselves. Is there an error? If it's yes or no. If it's yes, what kind of error is it? What caused it? Okay, if it was a speaking, while they were speaking, while they were writing, or while they were reading something, right? We need to know where is the origin of that mistake. Does it matter? Here, for example, I made a mistake. Does it matter, that mistake? And what should I do about it? What can you as a teacher should do? Should you correct them in the spot, or should you wait just a little bit more to see if that student is making the same mistake, right? And here I have a passage, okay? Here, I'm gonna give you the link so you can read it. It's a short passage. This student was writing about Sunday night, but I would like you to read it, okay? I would like to read it in Teams because we're going to discuss about this passage. What can you see in that reading, okay? For example, in that paragraph, what can you see? What kind of mistakes can you identify there, okay? What caused it, maybe? Maybe you can say, you know what, the student doesn't have a lot of vocabulary words, or maybe the structure is quite missing there. And you as a teacher, should you correct that student? Okay, because this is a writing mistake. Okay, very good. So we're going to be in breakout rooms, just very general. We're going to have 5 minutes just to discuss about this passage. What can you see there? What kind of mistakes do you identify? And later on, we're going to come back to this main station, okay? And we're going to discuss about it, okay?
Okay, teacher.
Thank you. Just give me a minute just to create the breakout rooms. Okay. Very good. So I'm opening the room so you might start entering.
Like, if you notice that I am saying something wrong, please tell me, and I don't get mad. But when someone, I don't like when people is like, I don't know, you're writing something and you write something wrong and they correct you with the asterisco. I feel like, I don't know, like I didn't ask you to correct me, right? Yeah, that's how I feel.
Okay. So for example, Selena, if it's someone that you know, is it okay to correct you?
If it is someone, yes, if it is someone like I trust a lot, like I have a lot of confidence, it's okay. But if it is someone that I do not have that much confidence, like I feel como que siento que esa persona se quiere sentir superior.
Okay.
Maybe the purpose was not that, but if I didn't ask you to correct me, don't do it.
Okay. Very good. So here we have your perspective. Very interesting. Very good. Thank you, Selena. What about you, Eugenio?
Yes, Miss, I was thinking about, like, it depends in the way that the person corrects you. And for me, I personally don't care if I know the person, or if it's a teacher, or if it's a friend. But I think that the way that you correct a person definitely affects the reaction.
Exactly. Oh, yes. It also depends how you correct, right? What words do you use? Right. Thank you so
Yes.
much, Eugenio. Karime?
Personally, I don't have like a problem with when someone corrects me, because in my family, like in my like the whole entire family, whenever someone says something, we correct them. Like even if you get made fun of, you just accept that. Maybe it's that I got so used to it that I really don't care if you correct me, and I personally like when someone does it, so I can unlearn something that I learned in a bad way. So I'm okay if you correct me. It literally doesn't matter if you if you do it in a way of making fun of, because I mean it's okay.
Wow, very good. Very interesting. I really like your perspectives, your different experiences with error correction. Very good. Betty, what do you think?
If a person who corrects me is a teacher or a friend or family, is usually okay. I mean, whoever corrects me like in person, it's okay. But online, as Elena said, the asterisco, don't do it, please. I mean, people are like, I just try to help. I don't care. Don't do it.
Okay. And with the asterisco, do you mean, for example, if it's a written text in WhatsApp or in Facebook?
Yeah. Yes. If I write something on Facebook, I usually write in Facebook like at 1 a.m. So I'm sleepy. And there's always this person that, for example, I forget an H, or I put a letter backwards and she put it and an asterisk, and I'm like, I hate you.
Okay, very good. So, okay, very good. So here, for example, Betty, you mentioned that it's more like a written correction. And for example, Eugenio and Karime, do you consider that it's more like a speaking, or doesn't matter if it's a speaking correction or about a writing text that you made a mistake, for example?
Well, for me, I mean, in my opinion, in my point of view, I don't. I mean, I don't care if it's written or spoken, but I like when they correct me in the spoken,
Okay.
because I might made a mistake, that mistake again when I'm speaking, talking to someone, and I think it is more embarrassing to make the mistake again because someone already taught me how not to do it. So I would prefer spoken correction.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Thank you for your
But
participation.
there are some people or teachers who, whenever you make a mistake, they might mock you, or they might like literally like hurt you. And there are some teachers here and like in Lily again, because I remember that this teacher corrected this student, and the other classes this person didn't want to enter, so because of that, like literally because of that. So it's like, why do you cause your own students to not want to attend your class? So
Exactly. Yes. And as you can see, well, as you experience, Karime, it is very common, right? Teachers giving a negative feedback, giving negative comments to students, and what is the consequence? They are not going to attend your class, right? And we need to be very, very, very cautious, very careful with this. Why? Because we don't know the background of the student. Okay, if that student is feeling sad, or maybe that student has a lot of problems, background problems, and attending to classes, and you correcting them very strictly, very explicit, well, you are actually affecting that student. We need to be very careful, right? And I mean, I feel sorry that maybe some of you might have experiences with some teachers. I feel sorry because it's not pure, it's not pretty, right? First of all. And what can we do with this? Well, we can have this experience and not be in the same, right? Change that perspective and change that attitude, right? So we don't do that to our students, because it's a circle. If someone else did it to you, you have two options. You can do the same to a student, or you can change it, right? So it's our opportunity to demonstrate that we're not the same, and that we can be better teachers, right? Thank you for sharing that experience. I'm really glad. Betty, I don't know if you.
Karima said that I remembered it was in this semester during the Zoom sessions. I'm not gonna say the name of the teacher.
There have been some teachers that correct me in like a good way. For example, this teacher that I will say her name because she's really good in correcting, teacher Michelle.
Okay.
She just waits for you to finish what you are saying, or she waits until every person is talking, and she corrects in like a general way, or maybe she just tells you in like a smooth way, and you don't feel her like attacking you or exposing you. So that's great.
Exactly. Yes, we can have a lot of teachers will experience this kind of feedback, right? Like, well, this teacher, for example, waited for you until you finish, and then trying to correct in a smooth way. I don't know if someone else would like to share this question.
Me, teacher.
Yes, Eugenio.
Following the Karima's idea, I also really like Michelle's correction, and also our new teacher of proficiency, Miss Berta,
Okay.
that she also, I think that she applied the same technique, that she wait for us to finish, and then she correct us, but in a really polite way, and yeah, I really like that.
Very good. Thank you so much, Eugenio. Exactly. It is the way that you correct your students that affects if it's a positive side or a negative one, right? And here, for example, we have that, well, few people like being wrong. Yes, I mean, it doesn't affect that they make mistakes. It doesn't matter. But also we have some people that doesn't like being corrected either. Okay, we have two perspectives, right? The ones that like to make mistakes, it doesn't matter, but the other ones, maybe they don't like being corrected at all, right? They feel vulnerable. And well, actually, we have some teachers and people that still believe that errors are contagious, yes, and that learners are at risk of catching the errors. So what do you think about this? Do you think that mistakes are contagious? And do you think it's a risk for students to make? Do you think, for example, if they are working in a group and one student is making the same mistake, do you think it's going to affect the rest?
I think it depends. If the students are like very proficient, like in a high level, they might not catch that error. But if students are in the lower levels, they might get like learn that maybe pronunciation or grammar structure thing. But I think it depends.
Okay, very good. So yes, it might depend on the background of that student. For example, if one student is making the same mistake, but the other one will say, there is a mistake there, but I don't want to correct my partner. So I'm just going to let it go. And I saw this with my adults group when I was in a face-to-face classroom. This student was making the error of, I don't remember, it was a grammar tense. So they were working in groups, and Juanito, it's a fictional character, Juanito was identifying the mistake, and well, Juanito asked me, teacher, is Roberto, fictional character, making this mistake, is it correct or not? And I said, nope, I'm going to correct Roberto eventually, but just wait for it. I mean, you identified the mistake, so try to you correct your classmate. I mean, there is another technique that is a peer correction. So yes, actually Juanito corrected Roberto in a good manner, and they took it well. Okay, so also instead of us correcting the student, we can take advantage of the classmates, the rest of your students that you have. That it could be another technique, and it's very good. Okay, very good. Let's continue, okay, because we have more theory. So here, many teachers believe that to correct errors is a form of interference, especially in fluency activities. In ICRE, for example, we have the fluency stage, that is the final, and there we know that we can't interfere or we can't distract the student while they are performing something, okay, if it's a communicative activity. What is a strategy if you, for example, listen that student is making some mistakes in the fluency stage? Okay, just have a record of the mistake. Okay, that's why you are monitoring them, and at the end, you can clarify. You know what? I listened to these mistakes, and you can write on the board and just, you know what? I heard this sentence. So do you think it's correct? So they can see, you know what? I made that mistake, but you are not saying the name. You are not exposing your students, right? Maybe we have some teachers that a correction, it's a bad idea because it creates a stressful classroom environment, and correcting the students have to be avoided. Okay, yes, we have some teachers that think like this, right? But also it depends on how you actually give feedback, okay? How you correct your students, as you mentioned before, okay? So here we have that some recent thinking, it says that actually it's a good idea to correct your students, okay? So here we have the negative feedback. For example, no, you can't say that, or no, you are wrong, okay? And also positive feedback, it's better, okay? It means that, for example, if Juanito made a mistake, you can say, you know what? I'm really glad that you are talking in English. I'm really proud that you are talking in English, but you should be careful with this little word, okay? Because I heard you, I don't know, that you said this one. So maybe if you put this one instead of that one, I don't know if I'm really clear. Maybe it's gonna be better. Okay, so giving feedback, also telling your student that they are doing a great work, that maybe that Juanito didn't participate before, but now is participating. So identifying that and telling that to your student is gonna change their perspective. Okay, so positive feedback matters. Selena, yes?
Teacher, you remembered me, like, I don't know why, in the Injube classes that I am giving, something inside of me, like, told me, like, you have to do a survey to know how your students are feeling. I don't know why, something was, like, pushing me so hard to do it, so I did it. And there were some students that answered that survey, and now I found, like, some of their fears while speaking and how they feel in the class and with me and everything. So in the next session, I did like an announcements, right? And I told them like they should they shouldn't fear because nobody in the class was like the master of English, that I also have mistakes, and that I was once a student and I was in their position and I know how they feel and I know the pressure and I understand everything, but that I face those fears and now I am teaching you and blah 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 blah. And after giving that announcement, I saw that all my students from all my classes, they were talking, everyone, every group, and I was so surprised and so happy to see that.
Oh, wow, I'm glad that you shared that experience. Yes, because you showed that everyone can make mistakes and it's normal, right? Some students might feel frustrated because they have to be perfect, or that if they speak, it has to be very uh, well, with no mistakes at all, right? So telling that to your students and showing them that is the opposite. If they make mistakes, it's okay. It doesn't matter. It's part of the learning process. Well, they're going to understand you, and they're willing to do everything that you say. Okay, because
Yes.
you are connecting with it. You create this bond that it's okay if you make mistakes. I'm gonna guide you. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
very good to do that, Selena. Very
Thank you,
good,
Miss.
great job. Okay, so here, for example, how there is an error correction in guided practice activities. Okay, we have two sides. How can we correct if they are, for example, in practicing? Okay, for example, here we have the overt correction. I'm going to tell you the differences. Here, this one is giving them and actually correcting them the correct form of the grammar tense. Okay, also, for example, the teacher can repeat that part of the sentence that was a mistake and provide the correct one. For example, maybe the student said, I go to school yesterday. And the teacher, go or went? And the student clarifies, I went to school yesterday. Okay, as you can see here, the teacher is giving them the form. Where is the mistake? Well, the mistake was in go because it's not present, it's past. And the teacher gives them the form, is go or went. So the student can clarify and give a correct side of that structure. Okay, so that is the overt correction. Here we have the indirect correction. Okay, so here the students are actually trying to know where is the mistake and what happened. Okay, so they can correct their errors by themselves. For example, here we have the conversation. So I go to school yesterday, and the teacher, is yesterday present or past? And the student answers past, and the teacher tried the sentence again. I go to school yesterday. You went to school when? Yesterday. Okay, go or went? Went. As you can see here, the teacher is guiding them. It's not giving them, as you can see in the overcorrection, the direct this answer, right? But here, the teacher tried to give them some ideas about what is the student doing. Is it a present, past, yesterday? So as you can see, the student was struggling. So at the end, okay, so go or went? And then student went. Okay. So in the indirect correction, you might be able to guide your student to the final correction, and the overt is going to straight to the point. Okay, not wasting time. So in your experience as a student or as a teacher, what do you prefer, the overt correction or the indirect correction? Betty?
I prefer the indirect one because it makes you think and you don't feel that bad because you think that you can actually correct it.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you, Betty. Here we have Karime.
Personally, I prefer the indirect correction because I see with myself that I learn better when I see my errors. Like that shock that I get, I learn better something, a word or something with that.
Very good. Instead of the teacher being very direct with you, maybe just guiding and giving you indirects, you can say, yes, I know where is my mistake now. Exactly, right? Thank you, Karime. Eugenio.
I also prefer indirect correction because I think with the overt one, you are almost giving the answer to the student, and you don't give the time to think about it and reflect it.
Very good. So I'm going to tell you something very interesting. Yes, Paulina.
I also prefer the indirect correction, but sometimes I think that it's necessary to use the overt correction.
Okay, tell me why, Paulina.
I don't know, because sometimes some students like didn't catch like the mistake. I don't know, and maybe like they want to know like the correct way. Or personally, sometimes I want like to know my mistake and to know how should I correct it. I think
Okay.
it depends of the mistake and of the student too.
Interesting. Thank you, Paulina. That is very interesting. Very good. Jesus?
I was about to say that I like the indirect correction better, but the overt correction I think sometimes is necessary for not to waste time and then for not to think too much, like doing do it automatically, or yeah, do it like without thinking too much.
Very good. Good, good, good. Very good. So you say, Jesus, that, well, both are necessary in the classroom.
Yes.
Very good. Excellent. Selena, I don't know if you want to add something.
Yes, Miss. I was going to say that sometimes I think I prefer the overt correction because it goes straight to the point. And I don't think indirect correction is bad. I think it's good. But I think that indirect correction, like the teacher has to be very careful to not make the student feels dumb.
Okay.
Because I had a very bad experience about a teacher doing indirect correction with me, and I felt so stupid, and I was like exposed in front of the whole classroom. And then on top of that she was correcting me, she said, "Más humildad, Selena, más humildad." I know I had that really bad experience, so I think that's why I prefer overt correction.
Very good. Different perspectives, very different perspectives that you have. And I appreciate because we can reflect more. Okay. So I'm going to tell you when can you use the overt correction and when can you use the indirect correction. Thank you. Paulina, I don't know if you want to add something.
No, sorry, I don't know how to bajar la mano.
Bajar la mano. Don't worry, I can put.
Sorry.
There you go. Okay, very good. Okay, so here, for example, the overcorrection, we can use it, for example, if you are in front of the classroom and you are explaining a topic and everyone is listening to you. For example, when you are explaining a grammar tense, well, you are the center, the teacher is explaining, and maybe you can ask your students, for example, to tell you as an example about, for example, present simple. Juanito can say the sentence, but there is a grammar mistake there. Maybe you can do the overcorrection, right? For example, if Juanito says, I brushes my teeth in the morning, and you can say, Juanito, okay, everyone, brush or brushes? And then brush. Okay, so I brush my teeth. Here, it's better if it's the whole group, okay? The overcorrection, why? Because it's very direct. Everyone is there interacting with you. You are the teacher, okay? So maybe also you giving them the incorrect sentence. For example, okay, guys, so do you consider that I dresses in the morning is correct? And then maybe they might say, no, teacher. Okay, so it's dress or dresses? Dress. So using the overcorrection, where there's a whole class or as a group, it's better. Okay, you go straight to the point. Here we have the indirect correction. And it's better if you correct them individually. For example, if you are monitoring them, they are doing an activity, maybe they are writing something, or they are in pair work, maybe you can go there, for example, to a student and asking them, for example, if you notice that the student was producing a mistake there, well, you can give them this an indirect correction, guiding that student. And it's better because it's more personal. If you want to consider the indirect as a whole group, it's also correct, right? Also to consider if the learner it has enough confidence to take it, okay? You need to consider also the background. How does the student feel while you guiding them, okay? Because some students might feel awkward or might feel nervous or shy about it, okay? And here, for example, you know that all our students here, we have our first language that is Spanish, and a second language is some of them might feel not confident enough to talk about or to learn even, okay? So well, in the theory, it says that error correction may be frustrating and also may lower their self-confidence even more. So that's why it's very important to correct our students according to how do you think that student will feel, okay? If you already know your students, it's gonna be easier. That's why you need to interact more with them so you know and identify what is the best method to use, okay? Because it affects in the future if they are going to produce more or not. You can lower the self-esteem, okay? Okay, so I don't know if you have any questions about this topic.
Not for me, Miss.
No? Thank you, Selena.
Not
No? Thank you, Paulina. If you don't have any questions, you can use the chat also. Just put no or yes, teacher, I have a question, or yes, teacher, I would like to share something. So we can continue with announcements. No? Okay. Ale. Okay. All right, so let's continue, okay? So here we have the fluency stage. Remember that you have been working with the encounter, clarify. Right now I'm gonna check your remembering and internalize stages, okay? I'm gonna give you the feedback. Remember, if you have some problem while reading my feedback or you didn't understand, please write to me, okay? Here we have you are going to include the fluency stage into your lesson plan. Also consider that that is your final grammar lesson plan. So if you had some corrections related to the last stages and you wanted to correct them, this is the opportunity to put the fluency. So everything is corrected, okay? I will say that wait for me till I give you the feedback from remembering and internalize. It doesn't mean that you don't have to wait to start your fluency. You can start it already. So I'm just going to give you some feedback in the remembering internalize before you upload the document, okay? So before you upload the whole document, okay? Because that is going to be your final exam. Remember that if you're working in teams, all of the members must upload the same document, okay? So I can give you the grade, okay? And also, for example, if you are working in pairs, I'm giving you the same feedback so you can check with your team. Okay, so that is an assignment that you have to do. And we have here a forum, okay? It's about error correction about today's topic. So here, for example, you are going to read the student error, okay? So here it says, I drank water yesterday. Here we have 10 different teachers giving feedback. As you can see, here we have some techniques that some teachers might use in the classroom. What are you going to do? You are going to choose 2 techniques that you think were useful to correct the student, and you're going to explain why. And also you're going to choose 1 technique that you found that was not useful at all, okay, and explain why. You can also include Any other suggestion that you would correct your students? Maybe there wasn't the a technique that you will say, you know what, this technique will actually be useful with my students, so you can include one, okay? You can include your experiences there, personal experiences. I'm gonna read them, okay? So I don't know if you have any questions about these assignments before going home. No, before
When is it
finishing.
due?
Yes.
I'm sorry, teacher. When is the due date of these the feedback of the teachers?
Let me check because I've already put it in the platform, but let me check very quickly.
Okay, thank
Give
you, Miss.
me, yes, give me a minute. Mm. Okay, we have here June 21st.
Also, the same day of the fluency stage.
Yes, but you know what? I'm gonna change it because
Okay. The fluency or the forum?
the forum.
Okay.
The forum I'm gonna move it later so you can have time to do the fluency. Wait for me, wait for me. Yes, Jesus.
Yes, I have a question. Like we need to choose two of them and then give the reasons of why we're choosing it and why and in which case we're using the technique.
Yes.
Or should we write more about it?
Well, you can write about it. For example, if you're going to choose the number 4 and the number 5 because they are useful for the student, you're going to say why. I think that the teacher number 4 did a great job because I considered that will be useful. You can include your personal experience if you remember some teachers that did that technique to you. Okay, so it's choosing two techniques that will be useful and one technique that wasn't useful at all.
Oh, okay.
But it's your personal opinion. I mean, this forum is your just sharing your experiences or personal opinions. Okay, Betty?
Yeah, little question.
Yeah.
Here says that the error says I drank water yesterday. Is I drink, right?
Yes.
Oh, it's okay, it's okay.
Yes, let me change it. Thank you. It's true. Yes, so it was drink. I drink water and it's drank, right? Thank you, Betty. I'm gonna change it also. Yes, so I put the forum. Let me just share my screen here. And the forum of error correction, I changed it to tomorrow, Anna, June 27th.
Okay, teacher.
Okay, so you can have more time with the rest of your activities. I mean, if you can do it now, well, it's better for you so you can manage your time. Okay, but you have the deadline till 27th. Okay, so I don't know if you have any other questions. So if not, we can start finishing this session.